the payroll tax cut and taxing millionaires a bit more just won't make enough of a difference because the yawning gap between rich and poor in America is so big. There's another piece in the Huffington Post with a similar kind of a view, but which cuts him rather a lot more slack on terms of his economic record. The Atlantic one says he just hasn't done enough, whereas the Huffington Post piece says that actually over the course of the last 3 years, he has passed a lot of economic measures that have helped to reduce the gap between the rich and poor in America. It would be a great deal bigger if it wasn't for Obama and the policies that he's been passing. So we should remember that the American economy would be in a worse state if it wasn't for him, that he's got a strong record to run on for November, and also that he has got some concrete measures that were announced in that speech, things like promoting clean energy, promoting the education and training needing to boost American manufacturing, things that will create jobs.
Now, today is the anniversary of the outbreak of protests in Egypt, protests that led to Hosni Mubarak being ousted. What is the Egyptian press, or how are they marking this?
Well, Egypt's uprising continues to be a work in progress, according to the Egyptian journalist Issand El Amrani. He's writing for the Abu Dhabi-based newspaper The National today, and he says he's talking about a video that apparently is doing the rounds on YouTube and on Egyptian sites, where you can see actors playing different politicians who beat one another up at the instigation of the military and then stand by and watch soldiers beat the protesters. Now, he says that's quite a neat summing up for a lot of people who participated in those revolutions a year ago. They just feel like they've been betrayed by every actor in the political scene. If we have a look at the cartoon in that paper, it shows the Muslim Brotherhood walking into Parliament on the backs of the protesters there. We should remember, he said, that they didn't back the protests in the first place, but they're the ones who've got the most out of it. He's not overwhelmingly negative, though. He concludes by saying this is the first time that Egypt has had politicians that voters have felt they could put faith in to build a better country. So we should wait and see what those politicians come up with.
Some Egyptian commentators far angrier, though.
Yes, absolutely. There's some strongly worded pieces about betrayal around today. Look at this article in the English version of Al-Masri Al-Youm. It's about the families of martyrs who died during the protests in January and February last year. At least 1,000 people, as Al-Masri Al-Youm says, died at the hands of police officers, and yet only one police officer has actually been convicted. Most of those families have no hope of justice. And there's also an interesting piece in The Guardian today about some Bedouin tribesmen who've occupied a tourist resort on the Red Sea. They apparently are part of a movement going on around the country where communities who've long felt oppressed have realised that the revolution could give them the chance to take their destiny into their own hands. So the Bedouin have marched into this resort apparently and say they won't leave except for €500,000.
Briefly, also looking at a controversy created by author Salman Rushdie in India.
Yes, this is in The Independent. He pulled out of a literary festival in India at the weekend because he said he'd got death threats to do with the Satanic Verses, of course, his 1988 novel, which got him a fatwa from Ayatollah Khomeini. Now, according to The Independent, he might have invented the death threat rumours himself to try and draw attention to the fact that that book is still banned in India and to try and draw attention to Muslim extremism there. So it's caused a huge row, says the paper.
Right, all right. Thank you very much, Elena Casas, for that look at the international newspapers. Still to come here on Live from Paris, we're live from Switzerland as the World Economic Forum talks about remodelling the whole global economic model. That's in business right after the break.